I freaking love Fast and Furious. It's the only movie franchise I know of that can go from this...
I'll have the tuna.
No crust?
No crust.
...to this... and still feel like it's in the same universe. Sort of. The action is amazing, the characters are lovable, but most importantly, the reason it works so well is because it's about...
family.
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 Even Carrie Fisher thought so.
It's about family, and that's what's so powerful about it.
While F9 may have felt like a misstep both critically and sort of financially, overall the franchise has made Universal Studios over $6 billion, which accounting for inflation over the past 20 years is about $70 trillion. So if you're the kind of guy that worries whether or not Vin Diesel is eating well, I wouldn't concern yourself too much. Considering how successful this franchise is, and also considering how movie studios love milking the shit out of their properties, it only makes sense that it gets turned into video games. The first one that came out was an arcade game in 2004, aptly called The Fast and the Furious. It was a pretty good arcade game that featured all the cars from the first movie, and even a couple from Too Fast, Too Furious. There was even a sequel called Fast and Furious Superbikes, which makes sense because every time I think Fast and Furious, I don't think cars, I think motorcycles. Now if you're thinking to yourself, wait a minute, Chris, these arcade games look kinda familiar. Aren't these just rip-offs of the cruising games? Well, one, that's messed up, I can't believe you just make a blatant accusation like that, and two, you're 100% correct. These games were made by the same team. Even though they later lost the Fast and Furious license, the first game was ported over to the Wii in 2007 with all the references to the movie taken out and released under the incredibly creatively named Cruisin'. You can tell the marketing department pulled an all-nighter thinking that one up. To be fair though, all these games are actually pretty decent and worth tracking down. The Wii port shouldn't be too hard to find and is relatively cheap, but the arcade versions, yeah, have fun with that. But let's say you want to play a Fast and Furious game, but don't want to drive all the way down to an arcade and deal with the creepy, sweaty guy telling you about Donkey Kong kill screens.
There's a Donkey Kong kill screen coming up if anybody wants to watch.
Well, there was a game that was supposed to come out in 2004 that was based on the first two movies. For unknown reasons, it was canceled. Psych! But luckily, in late 2006, the first Fast and Furious console game was released on PS2 called The Fast and the Furious... Okay, hold on, I don't speak... Oh, let me translate this. Okay, so the official title is The Fast and the Furious... The Fast and the Furious. Okay.
Okay.
The game's based off of Tokyo Drift and actually starts off pretty promising. Firstly, for the era, the graphics are actually decent. They're not groundbreaking by any means, but they're certainly better than most games that were based off movies at the time had the right to be.
What the fuck is that?
The racing is pretty solid, and there's a surprisingly deep amount of customization you can do to your cars. It's borderline competing with Need for Speed Underground 2 in terms of the amount of things you can customize. And sure, basically everything about this game clearly copies from the Need for Speed series, but Need for Speed games would copy from Fast and Furious, so hey, it all balances out. When you first pull up your map, you can fast travel and pull into shops that have the names of characters from the movies, such as Han and Dom Toretto. It's a nice touch, but unfortunately that's the last you'll hear from these characters for a while, because for about 2/3 of the game, I completely forgot this had anything to do with any Fast movies. You essentially just race random NPCs for about 7 or 8 hours, until eventually you see major characters from the first 3 movies show up. You get to race Sean, Han, Brian, who's a fucking cheater by the way, and of course the legend, Dominic Toretto, who I was able to beat the first try, so I'm not bragging, but I'm a better driver than Dom Toretto.
Gotta let that go.
Unfortunately, the likenesses and faces of these characters don't show up at all, and all you get to see is their names next to their cars. It's a real shame they didn't get at least Vin Diesel to appear, because he's given both his voice and likeness to video games in the past. The Chronicles of Riddick was arguably one of the greatest games based off a film franchise, and has a great performance from him.
You're afraid. The dark is afraid of me.
I guess just seeing their cars is better than nothing, but I would have liked to have seen a Fast and Furious game that has a fully rendered model of Paul Walker or Vin— Oh my god, I take it back! Don't worry, we'll get there. We'll get there. Overall, the game feels like a combination of Need for Speed and Initial D. There's a decently sized open world, a good amount of rocking early 2000s music, and lots of sweet licensed cars. Everything seems good, right?
It's false. No way. Not this time.
Here's the thing. Remember when I said the racing was pretty solid? That was partially true. When it's a sprint race, it's a lot of fun and feels challenging without being frustrating. But if it's a drift race, God fucking help you. It's tough to explain, but all of the cars feel incredibly heavy, making it very easy to overdrift. The second you make a turn, it's basically up to God whether you're going to crash into the wall. And when you hit the wall, for some reason, your car becomes magnetized to it for a good 3 seconds. At first, I thought I just needed to upgrade my car in order to have an easier time, but 1, the game doesn't make it clear which cars and parts you need to buy in order to progress, and 2, even when you do, it doesn't make it much better, it's just slightly more tolerable. Unless you actually become DK,
You know what DK stands for?
Donkey Kong?
you will throw your controller against the wall. And this is going to happen rather frequently because the drifting is like 60% of the game. It will drive you fucking insane, which is ironic considering this is based off a movie called Tokyo Drift. Maybe I'm the crazy one, but you'd think they want to focus a little more on, I don't know, the drifting? It took a while, but eventually I was able to beat the game in the same way that Sean did at the end of the movie, which was just mercilessly cheat and slam him into the Drift King so he couldn't actually get any drifts going. Personally, that was my favorite scene in the movie. Overall, the game isn't the worst, but when your experience is only good 40% of the time, you've got a problem.
The numbers don't lie, and they spell disaster for you.
It always bothered me why Vin Diesel was so reluctant to be in Fast and Furious games, since he is a huge nerd. The dude plays video games, reads comics, and plays Dungeons & Dragons. He even said that D&D had some inspiration in the original Fast and Furious movie. So don't be surprised if in Fast 10 they drive a DeLorean back in time to the Middle Ages, where Vin and his family have to fight off wizards and sorcerers. Well, it turns out he couldn't lend himself to the project because he was helping create another game that came out in 2009 called Wheelman. Yes, it's not called Fast and Furious, but it honestly feels like it in everything but name, so F you, I'm gonna bring it up. There's car racing, gunfights, stunts, and the only thing that doesn't feel like Fast and Furious is that nobody mentions
Family.
In Wheelman, Vin Diesel plays an undercover CIA agent, making it feel like a bizarre alternate reality Fast and Furious, where the role of Brian O'Connor is played by Vin Diesel, and Dominic Toretto is also played by Vin Diesel.
Right now, you need the best wheelman you can find.
As for what the story's about, that's a really good question. Vin Diesel comes to Barcelona in order to stop a crime syndicate. The syndicate is doing something, and Vin Diesel has to stop it because something bad will happen if he doesn't. Maybe. He also double-crosses his superior, but only after he got double-crossed by him, so he agrees to double-cross him with the lady who he was originally double-crossing after she double-crosses her boss, who was double-crossing her with another guy who was triple-crossing them, and then, oh my god.
That's why you don't double-cross a double-crosser, because then you get all crossed up.
The game was developed by Midway, rest in peace, and published by Ubisoft, who apparently had a lot of faith in this game because with every physical copy came an entire map of Barcelona, which admittedly is kind of cool.
He had faith in this movie. I don't know why.
The gameplay is like an odd combination of Burnout, Grand Theft Auto, and Road Rash. This may sound like a good idea on paper, and sometimes it is, but it honestly just feels like the perfect embodiment of throwing a bunch of shit against the wall and seeing what sticks. Yeah, eventually something will stick, but at the end of the day, it's still just shit. The racing is decent, and the car jumping mechanics are pretty good, but almost every idea needed to be much more fully realized. Being able to walk around an open world as steroid-induced Vin Diesel is kinda cool, but there's not really a whole lot to do in it, which, to be fair, is a Ubisoft staple. The car crashing mechanics are fun at first, but most times it takes quite a while to destroy a car, so the concept gets really old really fast. And the shooting is probably one of the most slapped-together last-minute clusterfucks I've ever seen. The hit detection is horrible. Vin Diesel controls like a robot, and I legitimately think they programmed this portion of the game with their eyes closed as a joke, but Vin Diesel was too busy talking about family to notice.
Family.
Also, how is it that every character in this game looks like an abomination to mankind? Seriously, almost everyone looks like they were made out of clay and got left in the sun for too long, except for Vin Diesel, who almost kind of looks human. I'm pretty confident most of the game's budget went to sculpting him. Okay, I feel like I'm making this game sound worse than it is, so let me backtrack for a second. Wheelman really isn't that bad, it's just extremely average. If you're willing to tolerate a little bit of bad third-person shooting, willing to put up with a story that makes Tenet look sensical, and characters that make Fast and Furious characters look well-rounded, then it might be worth checking out. If anything, it's interesting just to see Vin Diesel be in a Fast and Furious property without it actually being called Fast and Furious.
Doesn't matter.
Not really.
Now you want to talk about a bad game? Oh boy, you ain't seen nothing yet. Fast and Furious Showdown is a game, and I use the term loosely, that came out in 2013. It was released alongside Fast 6, and was supposed to bridge the gap in what happened between that and Fast 5. Because as we all know, the story is the most important aspect of the Fast saga. Now the first thing you'll notice after popping this game in is, oh god, I need to get my eyes checked, there's no way the graphics can be this bad. Well, don't worry, you don't have astigmatism, the graphics are actually this bad. In a year where BioShock Infinite, Grand Theft Auto 5, and The Last of Us came out, they decided to release a game that looked like an early PS2 demo. You gotta admit, that takes some balls. The second thing you'll notice is that it actually starts off kind of okay. You play as either Letty or Owen Shaw and switch between them in order to flip over cars and just cause as much damage as possible, sort of like in the 6th movie. The controls aren't great, but it's still kinda cool to cause some mayhem for a little bit. As long as things improve later, overall it should be an okay game, right?
Wrong, 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 wrong.
After the prologue is where shit really hits the fan. Because to even the most casual Fast and Furious fan, or even the most casual video game fan, you'll notice that they get basically everything wrong. For example, why is it that it seems like they had a blind person design the character models? Because nobody looks like their real-life counterpart. They look like the stars of the Fast and Furious porn parody. Is that supposed to be Michelle Rodriguez? Because she looks even more like a man here than she does in real life, and that's actually rather impressive. For whatever reason, even though they mention his name multiple times, Dominic Toretto is not in the game.
I'm here for Shaw's crew, not Toretto's.
What's weirder is that even though they have the models for the actors, only about half of them are voiced by the actual actors. So they could have modeled in Vin Diesel and just have him voiced by someone else, but for some reason they just chose not to? Why make a Fast and Furious game with a storyline but not put in Dominic Toretto? In fact, why make anything Fast and Furious related but not put in Dominic Toretto? Oh. Well, okay, fair point. But here it's super distracting because in the second level you get to reenact the famous vault dragging scene from Fast 5, but they replace Vin Diesel's character with Ludacris's character, and he doesn't even sound like Ludacris.
Ready, B? Let's get this brick to the drop.
Oh, hell nah.
So you have two models of characters that don't even look like the actual characters, being voiced by two actors that don't even sound like the original characters.
You got it. Then I can get the FBI to clear your rap sheet.
Okay, you know what? This is the least of the game's problems. The story involves bringing back Eva Mendes's character from Too Fast, Too Furious and have her talk with Gina Carano's character from Fast 6 about where the rest of Dominic Toretto's crew is hiding out. Ignoring the fact that the cutscenes look like something from your darkest nightmares, Eva Mendes's actress sounds like she's about to fall asleep.
He's been tracking a crew across the globe, and we're getting closer.
And Gina Carano's actress sounds like she's recording her lines while on horse tranquilizer.
Then tell me what I'm missing. I was told to review Toretto's crew, not Shaw's. So they're connected.
Man, that is bad. Who was this voice actress? Oh. How embarrassing. So not only does the game look like it was designed for mobile phones, but somehow it feels like it too, because the controls are awful. It genuinely feels like the car has more control over you than you have over the car. Nothing about the driving feels fluid or fun. The cars often feel so heavy, it's difficult to make the tight turns that the game demands of you in some levels. There's also no difference between any of the vehicles, so each one's steering feels exactly the same. Even between muscle cars and import cars, which is bullshit, because as we all know,
muscle beats import every time. You know what I'm saying?
You have the ability to destroy cars and perform slow motion takedowns like in Wheelman, but also like in Wheelman, it's fun at first, but gets old pretty quick. And since the takedown camera happens at the same time you're driving, it will sometimes cause you to lose control of your car and send you careening into a wall. Drifting isn't as bad as the PS2 game, but it's still pretty frustrating. Every track that you race on is blander than the food that Gordon Ramsay is forced to eat.
That is fucking disgusting.
And sometimes they get so lazy with the level design that in a desperate attempt to pad out the game, they make you drive through entire levels again backwards. But hey, to spice things up, at least they put some ramps on the road. I can only handle so much excitement, guys. No, get the camera! Luckily, there's other things the game has you do besides drive. There are stages where you lean out of the car and start shooting at people who are trying to slow you down, and these could have been a good idea, but one, when leaning out of the car, each character looks like they became robots who don't breathe, blink, or even have souls, and two, like Wheelman, the aiming is horribly inconsistent. A lot of times, even though your crosshair is over the target, it'll just miss its mark for no reason. And even if you do hit them, the bad guys don't offer any sort of reaction to you trying to kill them, so it's never satisfying. It's as if they're aware that they're in a bad movie tie-in game and want you to put them out of their misery as quickly as possible.
Do it! Do it! Come on! Kill me! I'm here! Come on!
It at least offers a reprieve from the driving, but when the driving is the most frustrating part of your Fast and Furious game, you might have an issue. You can't even customize your cars except for swapping the paint and adding a couple of decals that seem like your 5-year-old daughter designed them. Also, I'm sure you noticed by now, but every level lets you play as two characters from the Fast franchise that you swap between. This makes sense, as in all the movies everybody works as a team, but it's also rather unfortunate because your AI is the most inconsistent in video game history. Sometimes they're able to shoot the wings off a gnat, but when they're behind the wheel, they make SpongeBob SquarePants look like fucking Mario Andretti. If you're insane enough to pick this game up, I highly recommend doing the driving and letting the AI do the shooting, because I know this is almost impossible to believe, but they crash more often than Richard Hammond.
20 miles an hour, I'm going in. Oh my goodness.
However, here's a little known fact. A big reason they made it so that there's two characters you can swap between is because the entire game was designed with multiplayer co-op in mind. You can have another player play as the second character and go through the entire game with you. I don't know why you'd ever be so evil as to ask somebody to do that, but you could. However, there is no option to play online. At all. So just to get this straight, in the year 2013, while deciding to make a heavily focused co-op experience, they said to themselves, hey, this online thing, that's just a fad. Get that shit out of here. So if you want to play this with a friend, not only will you have to convince them to deal with awful graphics, bad controls, and boring gameplay, they have to physically leave their house and waste gas driving to your place to play it.
I can't do this, homie.
Not even the most dedicated Fast and Furious fan is going to do that.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
I don't have friends. I got family.
Goddamn right you do. Hello? Hey Chris, what's up? You want to what? Fast and Furious Showdown. I can't. I crashed my car. Yeah, again. Well, man, I just went too fast, too furious.
But hey, the game's not all bad. You can look at the concept art, and you can look at stills from some of the movies, and yeah, this game's trash. Vin Diesel's best career move was not to be involved with this. Look, I know this is going to sound crazy, but despite being a blatantly lazy cash grab, there were actually some good ideas in here. Getting to play co-op with a friend is actually cool. I just wish they implemented it better. The way you jump from car to car is fun, and the truck heists are admittedly pretty sweet. Maybe if they try one more time to make a game, they will fix their mistakes, and we can finally get a good Fast and Furious game.
You ready to ride?
We want justice.
Oh.
How embarrassing.
Well, I promised it, so here it is. Fast and Furious Crossroads. Oh my god, I've made some bad life choices. Fast and Furious Crossroads was first revealed at the 2019 Game Awards, with both Vin Diesel and Michelle Rodriguez presenting the trailer, where it was met with a resounding, I didn't know they still made PS2 games comments. Guys, I made that joke earlier, you're making me look bad. Even Vin and Michelle both look upset at the trailer and are both trying desperately to hide their disappointment.
It's amazing to see that trailer finally. We are in our crowd.
I know, man, gamer.
I'm sure you are, Michelle.
Spend all night playing like Tekken fighter games. Tekken fighter games.
Rated T for teen.
Well, look, I know I was in the minority here, but even after I watched the disaster that was the trailer, I still had hope for the game because I thought, hey, if Vin Diesel is willing to be in it, it at least can't be as bad as Fast and Furious Showdown. So on release day, I went to my local GameStop, forked out $60, drove back to my home both fast and furiously, and put it in my console. How did I feel about it? When you pop the game in, it starts off with a forced update that is as big as the game itself. Bear in mind, you needed this update to play the game since day one. If that isn't a bad sign, I don't know what is. The story mode starts off with Dom and Letty getting into a high-speed chase, as is tradition, trying to track down and stop a guy who's creating havoc with a tank in the streets of Greece. You have to slow him down by slamming into him and issuing takedowns to every car. You know, I'm starting to notice a pattern here. Why do all of Vin Diesel's games involve you slamming into other cars and destroying them? Does he have a burnout fetish or something? Is he James Spader's character from the movie Crash? Also, you have the ability to switch between characters at any given point during the level, sort of like in Showdown, but there's no co-op option. So it seems like they're trying to make an improved version of Fast and Furious Showdown, but it's already worse because they took away the only feature that might have made that game good. Oh my, I haven't even gotten past the first level yet and I'm already ranting. Okay, I will say that the driving controls are at least a little better than Showdown, but that's not saying much because they still aren't great. It feels like the car is a little too heavy to control and there's a slight delay in turning after you push the analog stick. Well, after you defeat this no-name goon who they will never see or refer to again, you get to see Vin Diesel and Michelle Rodriguez in all their 3D rendered glory.
Not so fast.
Oh my god. Am I getting pranked? Like, did I suddenly hit my head and wake up in 2007?
I've just figured out how to flip the elephant on Sandtrap.
Please explain how The Chronicles of Riddick, a game that was released in 2004, has a better model of Vin Diesel than a game that was released in 2020. Also, Michelle Rodriguez looks like a robot with soulless eyes, so admittedly they actually did a good job with her. After they beat this guy up, they find out that he's a member of this group called the Tatacool.
The Tatacool.
Or as Vin Diesel says,
The Tatacool.
which means road warrior or something.
Tatacool are an international crime syndicate whose name means Crossroads.
Oh, I see what they did there. You know what, I changed my mind. This game's brilliant. 10 out of 10. Letty pistol whips the guy and they find out he was on his way to Barcelona.
This guy was headed for Barcelona.
Wait, Barcelona? Like the city in Wheelman? Okay, Vin, why the obsession with Barcelona? Do you know something we don't? Are you trying to tell us where the bodies are hidden? What do you know, Vin? What do you know? So after Dom and Letty get that clue, Dom decides it's a good idea just to leave the game. Like, seriously, after the opening, Vin Diesel just straight up leaves the game for a really good chunk of time. You don't see him again for a while, which makes me wonder if he secretly knew how this game was going to turn out. He might be a secret genius.
I'm doing it live, guys. Doing it live. I'm doing it live. I'm doing it live. I'm doing it live. I'm doing it live. I am doing it live.
So we cut away to Barcelona where we take control of another character. Seeing as how there are so many characters in the Fast franchise, it makes me excited to find out who they picked. Are we going to get to play as Roman? Oh, what about Tej or Han? Will Brian make an appearance? Maybe Hobbs or Deckard Shaw? Don't leave me in suspense, game. Who is it?
This isn't work. They're talking about replacing batteries and a child's toy.
Who the fuck are you?
Do you realize how much work we're losing because you refuse to live in the 21st century?
And who the fuck are you? So just to be clear, instead of letting us play as one of the vast amount of already well-established characters from the Fast universe, they instead make us play as two characters we've never seen or heard of before. Kinda reminds me of a movie I saw recently. And even better, everybody throughout the whole game just pretends like we've known them the entire time. Just like another movie I've seen recently. Okay, so like it or not, these are the main characters. Vienna was a former street racer from Miami who had to flee the city after doing something. And Cam is her sister, I think. It's not exactly clear. Hold on, let me check the wiki. Okay, so she's her sister. Or she's her best friend. Which is it?
Is he your cousin or your friend?
He is both.
If you're wondering why Vienna looks so familiar, it's because she's portrayed by Sonequa Martin Green, aka the main character on everybody's favorite TV show, Star Trek Discovery. This is a brilliant move because when I think Fast and Furious, I don't think The Rock or Vin Diesel, I think Star Trek Discovery lady, who, by the way, cannot act.
Can you please tell me what the hell is going on?
She's capable of portraying two emotions, bored out of her mind.
Well, if you're gonna stand any chance of winning in that import of yours, it's gonna need a tune-up.
And screaming at the top of her lungs.
No! Kai is mine!
However, as bad as she is, she's got nothing on her sister, friend, thing, who only has one emotion, and that emotion is known as bad acting.
Don't you think they've already asked Maurizio who we are and where we live, and now the cops are after us too?
I legitimately think this might be one of the worst video game performances I've ever seen.
This sounds awesome.
And this is coming from a guy who played this.
Blood. Hope this is not Chris's blood.
To be totally fair, the material doesn't exactly leave the actors with a lot to work with, and even Michelle Rodriguez has a hard time delivering her lines.
Great. He's got armor-piercing rounds.
The only one who really gives a convincing performance, or the only one who at least seems to be trying, is Vin Diesel.
We're doing someone a favor.
But when Vin Diesel is the best actor in your project, there might be an issue.
They want to play with fire? Then let's turn up the heat.
Anyway, Vienna and her sister friend make their way over to see Vienna's boyfriend, Sebastian, only to find out that he's in debt with the wrong crowd and needs to make money. So they decide the best way to do that is to win the money in a race. Even though Star Trek lady swore off racing forever, she's going to do it one last time to save her boyfriend. After an incredibly boring and by-the-numbers race, it turns out that even though we won fair and square, the bad guys won't pay up. Shocker, and force the crew to find another way to make money, making this whole section of the game a complete waste of time.
Well, that was pointless.
I think I know someone who can help.
Star Trek lady then decides to call up Letty because she knew her from a visit to LA.
My visit to LA was a long time ago.
Convenient, and they decide to rob the Tatacool in order to pay off Sebastian's debt. And even though Star Trek lady swore off pulling off heists forever, she decides she's going to do it one last time to save her boyfriend. They go to rob a truck, which somehow is even less exciting than it was in Fast and Furious Showdown, because in that game, they would at least give you the opportunity to jump from car to car, instead of just being the driver. Here, they just want you to drop off Star Trek Lady's boyfriend so he can do all the work himself. Problems arise when other cars from the Tactical come in to try and stop you. And even though Star Trek Lady swore off vehicular manslaughter forever, she decides she's going to do it one last time in order to save her boy. Just kidding, he dies. Sebastian! Wow, she just lost her one and only love. And damn, you can really feel the pain coming from her. Can somebody give this lady an Oscar? So now the rest of the game turns into a revenge / save the world story surrounding Star Trek Lady, with occasional quips from her sister friend.
Okay, we get that they're super scary.
Luckily, Vin Diesel, against the wishes of his agent, makes his way back into the game.
Dominic Toretto?
He then sends Star Trek Lady on what may be the worst driving segment in the entire history of video games. You drive a truck uphill into a military base while trying to destroy another truck along the way because you have to sneakily take that truck's place. Now, I don't know about you, but nothing says sneaky like blowing up a truck literally 50 feet away from the location you're supposed to be sneaking into. The truck controls like ass, which I guess makes sense because, you know, it's a truck, but because it's so heavy and you're going uphill, it feels incredibly sluggish and slow. And by the way, apparently the truck you're trying to destroy can defy physics.
Oh my God!
After that disaster, you're then given a stealth driving mission, which are always a blast, and I will say this level has the only well-written line in the entire game.
Good to see a sister in charge for once. So they're progressive criminals. I feel so much better.
That's it. That's as good as it gets.
Careful. Careful is my middle name.
Fuck you! After that, it's all downhill from here. Literally. Because after getting caught, Vienna's sister friend has to drive away from a rock landslide in a segment that would have been fun if it was designed in any other game. And you can really hear the fear coming from her voice as she's escaping certain death.
I'll call Barcelona home all you want, just as long as I survive this nightmare.
You know what? Give everybody an Oscar. The big problem is that you can't tell what's destructible and what's not, so there were a couple of times I wound up coming full stop into a wall, causing an instant game over. Which honestly, I wouldn't have minded so much, but that means I have to play this game even longer. I would have loved to tell you what happens in this next cutscene, but unfortunately the game crashed on me, and when I went back in, they just skipped me to the next level, so hey, fuck it. This time, by the grace of God, Dom comes along for the mission, and you actually get to play as him. Imagine that. Actually playing as Dominic Toretto in a Fast and Furious game?
Gather the troops, we're going in.
This mission involves you chasing down a high-speed train being driven by a guy named Kai, the guy that killed Star Trek Lady's boyfriend.
Find Kai, I'll stop the engine.
And unfortunately, no, not this Kai. Only 90s kids will get that reference. Admittedly, this level is actually kind of cool. One, it's the first time in the game where you really get to fully play as members of the original Fast crew for more than 30 seconds, and two, it feels like what a Fast and Furious game should be. There's weapons, fast driving, and over-the-top cool stunts. They still don't let you actually jump onto the train, instead making you be the one in the cars the whole time, but it at least shows that there was some potential in here somewhere. Then you get whiplashed back to reality when they start talking.
Not to be lame here, but what are we supposed to do?
Jesus Christ. After the train segment, you find out that Kai is working for the Tactical, as well as another organization run by a guy named Ormstrad who wants to steal something called an Eclipse device, which, oh my god, this is already so convoluted. Just know there's another bad guy they have to deal with who wants to take over the world, but luckily, Letty and Dom already have a man on the inside helping take him out.
What does this Ormstrad have to do with that device?
We've got someone on the inside with his current crew.
Convenient. And then, once again, Dom just decides to leave.
I'll meet up with you all later.
Wait, where are you gonna be?
Looking for a race.
A race? Wait, Vin, take us with you. Take us with you! Take us with— fuck! So Letty, Star Trek Lady, and sister friend travel to New Orleans to meet up with their man on the inside, who turns out to be—
Still waiting on my ride. Don't you know what chop chop means?
Oh my god. Oh my god, yes. Yes, it's Roman. It's really Roman. Oh my god, Roman, quick, save us from this nightmare. Do something funny.
Tonight I'm running some huge op. That's insider bad guys speak for operation.
Well, I guess that's kind of funny.
Yeah, that'll be my secret terrorist network contact.
That's not really—
Damn, Letty. You don't think I know what I'm doing by now?
Oh my god, Roman, not you too. What have they done to you? Look how they massacred my boy! All jokes aside, it is kind of nice having Tyrese Gibson in the game. His lines are definitely not as funny as they are in the movies, but his charisma alone is at least enough to be a breath of fresh air. While his gameplay segment isn't really that much better than the rest of the game, his dialogue at least gives throwbacks to the films, so that's kinda cool.
How about I show you my prison tab for back at Barstow later?
It's Barstow, baby! It's about to get ugly!
After Roman's segment, we cut back over to Star Trek Lady and Sister Friend hanging out at a street race. Dom and Letty tag along too because I guess Vin Diesel just felt like showing up that day. They're in the race because the organization that Roman's working for asked him to get them some fast cars. Why couldn't they buy the cars themselves?
Tell me again why Interpol can't just give us some cars?
Roman's supposed to be this lone wolf wheelman. They expect him to find his own rides.
Okay, I understand that Roman's undercover. But 1, how would they even know how Roman got the cars? 2, why would they even care where Roman got the cars? And 3, if on the incredibly off chance they're literally tracking Roman's every move, then they would know he's not getting the cars himself and he'd be instantly shot dead. If you're asking yourself any of these questions, then fuck you, logic has no place in family. So if you haven't lost your last brain cell yet, they need to win a car in a race that's set up by knockoff Nicki Minaj.
We need some cars.
Well, at least we finally get to play as Dominic Toretto in an actual, proper race. This is the first time in the entire history of Fast and Furious where we get to do that, and I actually am kind of genuinely excited.
Nobody in their right mind would consider going up against you in this race.
True, but I'm not gonna be the one behind the wheel.
You have got to be fucking kidding me. Fine, then who's racing?
500 kilowatts, 750 horsepower, and 0 to 60 in 2.8 seconds fast enough for you?
Oh, fuck you. Fuck you. Who is this game appealing to? If you're not a fan of the Fast franchise, you're not going to bother picking this up. And if you are, then they keep giving you the middle finger by forcing you to play as characters you don't give a shit about. Anyway, spoiler alert, the race sucks. Sister Friend gives you her usual Oscar-winning performance.
Woo! These crowds are fire!
And if you've played literally any racing game in the past 10 years, then you've played a race more exciting than this one, and with much more lively scenery, because there are better looking crowds in early 2000s Madden games than in this level. And lastly, they make the race 2 laps instead of 1, I assume to once again pad out the runtime. You win the race, Big Boob Lady gives you the car, and you fucking move on, thank God. The next level, you take control of Roman in what again would be a pretty fun level if they just took more time to design it.
Remember Rio? Use the container.
It plays similar to the vault dragging scene in Fast 5, and it's fun dragging the container behind you to destroy stuff, but it's pretty glitchy, the area just looks bland, and again, it's not clear what's destructible, and even so much as a light tap against a wall will result in a death. After Rowan helps the bad guys out, it turns out they knew he was betraying them, big surprise, and they take him hostage. So somehow Sister Lady put a tracking device on him because she's an expert hacker, and all 4 of them go to track him down. This time they put circular saw blades on the sides of the hubcap so they at least try mixing up the car destruction, but at this point the gameplay loop has gotten so stale that nothing will make it exciting. When you save Roman, it turns out the bad guys planted a bomb on his bulletproof vest, and you need to get him back to base before it explodes. Now you may be asking yourself, why don't they just take the vest off? Well, I'm sure there's some sort of complicated scenario the bad guys thought of where you can't just simply remove the vest.
Is it off?
Yep.
Or they could have just taken the vest off. What was the point of that? What was the point of rushing him back to base? You could have just taken it off there. Did you just want to see Roman suffer more? So much for family. Well, anyway, in case you forgot, because Lord knows I did, Star Trek Lady still wants revenge on the guy who killed her boyfriend, and Letty knows where he's going to be. But not before Vin Diesel decides he's had enough of this shit and doesn't want to be in the project any longer.
Where are you going?
Shopping.
In case you're wondering, yes, that's the second time he's turned around, said a one-liner, and just left the game. So Star Trek Lady and Sister Friend go track down Boyfriend Killer where they, you guessed it, get in another high-speed chase. Except this time, instead of having a circular saw on their car wheel, now they have one giant circular saw trying to kill them. Talk about raising the stakes. What is the purpose of this saw and why is it there? Because family. After chasing him down, Star Trek Lady finally captures the guy who killed whatever his name was. Hooray. They bring him back to their HQ where he says he and his family's organization are going to launch a satellite that will destroy every electronic in the world, I think. I don't know, I sort of tuned out by this point.
Let's get moving.
So let's go grab Roman so we can go and have an adventure.
Not you, Rome. We need you to keep an eye on Kai.
Letty, I don't know if you're still recovering from your head trauma in the 6th movie, but why, in God's name, are you trusting the fate of the world to these 2 chicks who you just met and forcing Roman to sit on the sidelines despite the fact that he has saved both you and the world on numerous occasions. You know what? Fuck it, let the world explode. I paid $60 for this. So Letty, Star Trek lady, and sister friend chase down the big bad guy on his hover car, and at this point, I was so bored of the driving and nonsensical QuickTime events that I literally fell asleep in my chair. This is not an exaggeration. So Discount Charlie's Angels catch up and kill the bad guy, finally, but only to find out that they were too late to stop him from launching his satellite that will destroy electricity or something, probably. So the Angels try to stop it by driving across an unfinished highway that for some reason has hundreds of pedestrians on it, and even Letty is so bored by this point that she tries to yeet herself out of the goddamn game. So they get to the rocket and realize that they're too late to try and stop it. However, there's one man out there that can, and his name is John Cena! Nope, it's Vin Diesel. He came back at the last second to save the day, or to meet minimal contractual obligations so that he can get paid. Either way, he's here. The reason he left earlier was to get a bunch of rockets attached to his car so he could blow up the satellite. You could have just told us this earlier, Dom, but instead you had to look cool by turning around and vaguely saying what you were going to do that day.
Looking for a shot.
So after Dom's grand plan of blowing up a rocket with more rockets doesn't work, each of the 4 team members have to chase down the rocket before it explodes. How do they do this? You guessed it, by driving fast and performing QuickTime events. Jesus Christ, just end me. I will say though, at the very least, you see Dom jumping on top of a moving rocket and stop the rocket by hacking it.
Pretty sure I can hack the command module from here.
This is some big brain shit right here. The only way something this insane will ever be topped is if the franchise winds up in space. Well, hot damn. So Dom is able to jump off of the rocket and land safely on the metal hood of Letty's car because all cars in the Fast universe are as soft as pillows, just like in real life. The crew all stand around and admire their work of saving the world from whatever was going to happen, and Roman shows up too because they want to rub it in your face that they could have put him in more of the game but just chose not to. Then Star Trek lady goes off on some tangent about how she held a street race in Miami.
I organized a street race, and people died.
That's why she had to leave the city. But then Dom and Letty somehow knew that the cars in the race were tampered with.
We got evidence that the engines in that race were tampered with.
I don't know. It doesn't matter. All that matters is that Dom says this.
Now you've got a new family.
Yeah, he said it. He said the line. He said it. Yes. 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 Fuck this game. Even if for some reason you liked this garbage because, I don't know, you have an IQ below room temperature, the whole campaign is only 4 hours long. Vin Diesel, the main character of the franchise, is only in about 30% of the game, and instead they make you play as characters so uninteresting that there's only one sentence about them on their Wikipedia pages. Bad characters, bad graphics, bad gameplay, bad story. Everything is just bad. And you can have all this and more for the low, low price of $60. Even today, a full year after the game's release, Steam is charging $40 for the privilege of what amounts to a wet turd in your game library. $10 for every hour of gameplay? What a steal! And you know what? This isn't even the craziest part. After you beat the single player campaign, you will be stunned to discover that there's a multiplayer mode. Yep, this game has actual multiplayer. And from what I've seen on YouTube, it actually kind of looks okay. But unfortunately, I'll never know because literally nobody is playing it. I waited for over an hour in matchmaking and got nothing. It turns out you need a minimum of 9 people to start a match, and not even 9 people on the entire planet want to play this freaking thing. If you thought getting one person to play Showdown with you was hard, good luck getting 8 people to not only play it with you, but to each buy their own copy.
Hello? Fast and Furious Crossroads. You actually bought that? Wow. Sorry, man. You're on your own. Don't worry, Paul. I would never subject you to such torture.
What's funny is, a decent chunk of this game's problems can be attributed to it being rushed out the door. There was clearly a lot of cut content, which is why all of the cutscenes seem so disjointed and nonsensical. A delay really would have helped the project, which makes it all the more curious why they insisted on releasing it almost a full year before F9 came out, which is what it was supposed to be tied alongside to. If you're going to delay the movie, why not delay this also? Literally every decision made about this game was wrong.
Wrong, 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 wrong!
Thank God that's over. So yeah, Fast and Furious doesn't exactly have a great track record when it comes to video games. There are a couple things I missed, such as the DLC for Rocket League and Forza, the latter of which actually has the voice of Ludacris.
It's Tej. I said I'd holler at you if I saw anyone that could be useful.
But I just wanted to focus on Fast and Furious games that were built from the ground up to be Fast and Furious games. I still believe there's a lot of potential for a good Fast and Furious game, but considering the critical reception and the sales numbers for Crossroads, I highly doubt they're ever gonna try again. It kind of breaks my heart to say that, but remember, it's not about making good video games. It's about one other very important thing. Tell him, Vin.
It don't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning.
Sure, that and...
family.
Goddamn right. I'm Chris from the Game Boys, and I'll see you next time.
Family.
Family. Family.
Family. Family. Family.
Family.
Family.
Special shout out to Fueled and Furious for being in this video. He's a great YouTuber and Twitch streamer, and I highly recommend checking him out. Link to his channel will be in the description below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and also if there's a franchise or game that you want us to take a look at, let us know in the comments. Thanks. Have a good one.